Everyone had a reason you shouldn't. Your wife said it. Your back said it. The number on your license said it too. And you signed the papers anyway. Now the bike's sitting in the garage, and there's this voice in your head that keeps calling it a crisis. Some late grab at a youth that already packed up and left. I think that voice is wrong, and not in the feel-good way. The actual science here is stranger than the cliché, and a lot more flattering. What everybody jokes about as a breakdown is closer to the opposite of one. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll know exactly what your brain was really doing when you handed over the money. Here's the thing nobody says when they raise an eyebrow at your garage. If this were really a man running from his life, why doesn't it feel like running? You twisted that throttle the first time, and it didn't feel like escape. It felt like you'd arrived somewhere. That's the part the joke gets backwards. A crisis pulls you away from yourself. Whatever happened on that bike pulled you toward something. Some version of you that had been sitting in the waiting room for years. And your body knew the difference, way before your head found the words. So let me give you a name for it. Psychologists call it identity foreclosure. It's what happens when you lock in who you are too early. The job, the role, the box somebody handed you at 25. You shut the door on every other version of yourself before you ever got to try them on. You commit, you provide, you make yourself useful, and some part of you just goes quiet. Not dead, just put away on a shelf somewhere. Try this right now. Think of the last decision you made purely because you wanted it. Not for the kids, not for work, just you. For most people, that's a long pause, and there's a reason for the silence. When everything you do is for someone else, your sense of agency gets thin. That feeling of being the one steering. Psychologists talk about people who feel like the author of their own life versus the ones who feel like a passenger in it. And years of obligation can quietly move you into that passenger seat without you ever noticing the swap. Then, one day, you're sitting on a machine where nothing moves unless you make it move. You lean, it turns. You roll off, it slows. No committee, no compromise, just what you want, answered instantly by 200 kilos of steel. Now here's where the brain comes in, and here's where I have to be straight with you. Learning to ride at 45 fires up the same reward and learning circuit that lights up in a kid figuring out something new. Every clean corner, every smooth downshift, you get a little hit of dopamine. Not a pat on the back, a signal. This matters. Do it again. Get better. And it turns out your brain never put an expiration date on that system. Neuroplasticity, the brain rewiring itself around new skills, stays switched on well past midlife. That part is solid. The dopamine, the rewiring, all real. But what I'm doing right now is tying those lab findings to a motorcycle. And that bridge is mine, not the lab's. Nobody's run a study proving that buying a bike at 40 rebuilds your sense of self. I think it's a strong call, and it's standing on real ground. But it isn't hard data, and I'm not going to dress it up as if it were. Either way, the mechanism holds. A brain that's still learning is a brain that's still awake to its own life. And riding might be one of the most demanding, full-body invitations to learn that any adult ever says yes to. Watch what actually happens to you out there. You pull up to a light. Normally, your head would be 3 meetings deep. But here, your eyes are reading the gravel, the car nosing out, that patch of shade where the road might still be wet. You're completely inside the next 10 seconds. People pay for apps to get into that state. You found it with a clutch lever. That's not escape. Escape leaves you emptier when it's over. You come back from a ride fuller, sharper, more like yourself somehow. And that's the giveaway. You weren't running from your life out there. You were running an experiment in being the one who writes it. And that voice from the garage, the one reaching for the word crisis, you can finally answer it. A crisis is something that takes from you. This handed something back. It reopened a door that had clicked shut quietly, somewhere around the time everybody stopped asking what you actually wanted. Here's the part most people never get anywhere near. Most of us spend the second half of life slowly getting smaller. Fewer first times. Fewer things we're genuinely clumsy at. Fewer moments of being a beginner at something hard and a little scary. You went the other way. At the exact age the world expected you to coast, you signed up to be a student again, to wobble, to be bad at something out in the open on purpose. Because the far side of being bad at it is that it's finally yours. That's not a man running out of road. That's a man who just proved his story isn't done being written. So next time somebody cocks an eyebrow at the garage and reaches for that word crisis, let them. They're describing a door swinging shut. They have no idea you just felt one swing open. Next time, I want to take you somewhere weirder. That half second before you consciously decide to lean into a corner. Your body commits to it before your mind ever casts a vote. I'll show you what's happening in there. But first, I want your story. Not great video, the real one. How old were you? And who was the first person who told you not to? I read every single one of these.